Hello, nerds, and welcome to the Engadget podcast. This is episode 29, Re-Offender. Joining me this week, Dana Wollman.
Hello.
Actually, we've changed your name. It is Dana, Why Are My Pants Wet Wollman.
You'll have to watch the outtake reel to get the why.
I do want to request that somebody out there pull together a supercut of insane things that Dana Wollman has said on this show. We were discussing it before we went on, and this needs to happen.
But why are my pants wet? It's not like I spilled this coffee.
Well, that's the first topic in Flame Wars this week.
Why
are Dana's pants wet?
Awesome. We're off to a good start.
Yep, we're in a good place, guys.
Yeah.
Also joining me, that other voice you hear is Nate Ingraham. How are you doing, sir?
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Nate?
Did you know that Wayne's World came out, I think, 25 years ago on Valentine's Day last week?
I did not know that, but that seems like the appropriate day for that movie to come out.
Yeah. It's clearly a romantic comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bromance.
Yeah.
I forgot to introduce myself at the top of the show. My brain's clearly broken. I'm Terrence O'Brien, but you're used to me. I'm here every week.
Sadly.
Yeah. So let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's just get right to it.
Yep.
And start this week, as we do every week, with Flame Wars. This is kind of where we debate a little bit. As those of you who listen and watch every week know, we made some tweaks to the format. There will be no winners. There will be no leaderboards. If you don't like that, let us know, and maybe we'll change it back. But
no more buzzer.
No more buzzer, I know, which makes me sad.
Yeah.
I miss it. But I wanted to start this week with a particular story, because last week we themed Flame Wars on Resurrection. It was all of these products and ideas and stuff that had been brought back from the dead. And this week there was one story about bringing a product back from the dead that really just stopped me in my tracks. And that is the fact that Samsung is considering selling refurbished Note 7s.
Let's dive in, shall we?
So, Dana.
So a little bit of background, just even before we start debating this.
Yeah, that's a good move.
There was a really big study released, I think, this week, measuring people's, I guess, the degree to which people trust different brands.
Yeah,
and
favorability rating
right.
sort of thing.
For the last 2 years, Samsung was in the top 10 somewhere. And this year, surprise, surprise, its ranking dropped to 49th. And I should say this was a large study. It was over 30,000 participants, which is, for this sort of thing, a pretty big sample size.
Yeah.
So people trust Samsung a lot less than they used to. Samsung has a problem in terms of convincing people that its future products will be of sound build quality, that they won't blow up.
They're suspicious that it won't burn down their house.
Right.
Basically.
So selling refurbished Note 7s is a good first step, right?
Good is not the word I would use.
So go ahead, Nate, before I jump in here.
I think that brand has been so thoroughly burnt to the ground, that bringing it back is a real bad idea. But I also don't get a sense that they're trying to make the Note 7 a thing again. I think they're saying we've got all this hardware that we've already manufactured. Let's try and do something with it so it doesn't get completely wasted, which I think is a good goal. So it's not so much I think we're going to be seeing campaigns for the Note 7 or anything like that. It's just they're going to tweak these things, put in smaller batteries. The report said they will primarily be sold in India and Vietnam, countries that are just not as
unfavorable.
Well, I think it's just a different marketplace than trying to bring it back to the U.S. and put a campaign behind it, right?
Well, I mean, I assume they're not going to put a big marketing campaign behind it, but I'm also I'm troubled by the idea of them taking these phones that explode and saying, well, we can't sell them to Americans, but
yeah,
you know who's dumb enough to buy a Note 7? That's kind of what it feels like. Is well, they won't know any better.
Yeah.
They're not as tuned into this news cycle perhaps or what have you. And I think that the thing is if one thing goes wrong, that's it. Samsung's gonna be in yet another heap of trouble. It just doesn't seem worth the risk. But our report said that that they might run into trouble with the Korean government if they junk all these phones. So they've got to do something. It sounds like. I don't know what the right answer is, but I don't think they're just doing this to try and pull a fast one. I think they're really trying to not put all this hardware to waste, and this seemed like a way to do it.
Well, I mean, I guess so. Just to sort of play devil's advocate on this one, they've done all their studies, they've done all their analysis, and they figured out that the culprit was these giant batteries. And now that they know that, it's less likely that they're going to explode. Right. And I guess the option is take these phones that are likely to burst into flames and then chuck them in a landfill where all of their like poisonous rare earth metals will sit there and, never decay probably, or try to resell them. Yeah. So, I mean, is that at least, if they frame it that way, does it make sense? Is that kind of like a good move for them from a PR perspective, not just like ignoring the financial bottom line part?
I mean, I would rather them refurbish the phones than do unnecessary damage to the environment. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I guess my negative reaction is less that I think the phones are going to be dangerous with smaller batteries, and more just that I think this is not helping their efforts at all to salvage their reputation or rebuild their reputation. Even if the phones aren't meant for our market, we're the people.
If there was a way that, I was going to say, if there was a way that they could reuse the materials or the phones in some aspect, but have them be different phones. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm like, if there's a way they could get away with like reusing them in some aspects, but not having like just here's a Note 7, we slapped a new battery in.
What I'm surprised they didn't do, and I've seen Samsung do this before, is where they have a lot of different variations of the same phone, and because we've been tripped up by this going to trade shows, where we'll see a new phone, initially think, what is this? We've never seen the Galaxy S Banana Head before. And actually, the Galaxy S Banana Head is a variant of the S6 from 2 years ago, just with a slightly different...
Sidebar, guys. I think Samsung Banana Head is a clip that should make it into the Dana Supercut.
I also want this to be an actual phone now. Like, I want there to be a Samsung Banana Head.
I don't know where I got that, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Dana's
they've pulled
hungry.
this trick before, where they've released very similar versions of the same phone. With a new name, that would have been the smarter thing here.
It could have been. It could be as simple as just pulling the backplate off of the phone and putting a new one on. That's how you have to remove the backplate anyway to install a new battery, and just put one with a different logo on it.
I mean, I think it's worth noting also this isn't, I believe, official or confirmed yet from Samsung. I believe so. We may yet see it be something more like that than what we're imagining if it does go forward, right?
Yeah. So let's move on to our second topic, though. And that is Bill Gates. And this is sort of a topic we've touched on before a little bit on the show. But Bill Gates proposed this idea of using a robot tax kind of as compensation for lost jobs.
It's more like he got on the bandwagon. He's not the inventor of that idea, but he's clearly a supporter of it.
So why don't you walk us through this idea a little bit, Dana?
So the idea being that if companies replace jobs formerly done by humans with automated jobs, they would pay taxes, presumably both to discourage either automating or over-automating. And certain proposals have suggested that money could then be repurposed toward training humans for different kinds of jobs, perhaps jobs that robots will never be good at, like taking care of children or the elderly.
So on its face, it sounds like a thing that should be pretty popular, but it has had trouble gaining traction.
Right. The EU just considered a similar proposal and ultimately rejected it.
Yeah. So why are they rejecting it? What's the reason behind this, Nate?
Oh, I don't know.
You know?
I don't. Good question. Give me a sec. I'll tell you.
I mean,
I did my homework today.
I mean, I guess the obvious reason would be that the same reason they argue against any sort of taxes, which is it would slow reinvestment, it's going to slow innovation and stuff like that, right? That's like sort of the big obvious one. You're dissuading people actively from investing in technology to improve production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a strange... it's sort of like self-driving cars in that I think there's going to be a real push and pull between the old and the new for a good long while as we figure out like what's the best way to implement this thing that's clearly coming, right? Like robots taking jobs is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it can be for the best in a lot of ways, but there's also going to be like that job cost and like what does that Like, what's that look like? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, this has been happening for years, though, right? Like, isn't that like assembly lines, like similar kind of thing? Like, this just feels like the next step in that evolution.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not. Should also make it clear that this is not like an overnight thing. All of a sudden, everybody woke up and went, "We don't have jobs because of robots." This has been like a slow and steady march and a slow and steady bleed as technology has improved, as the ability to produce more with with less manpower has improved.
So this tax would tax the companies using robots, basically. So there's a financial incentive for them not to use these robots then.
Yeah.
And there's also the fact that these robots could be making things safer. They could be taking jobs that are dangerous and putting them in the hands of a robot instead of a human.
Yep.
So there's, there could be safety benefits from robot workers. There can be economic benefits, efficiency benefits.
Yeah.
But we're disincentivizing that. That seems like a strange tactic to me.
I think that's honestly probably the strongest argument against this sort of thing is the one that you just kind of touched on, which is this efficiency one. Because, as you produce more, you're able to drive down costs, and that in turn drives down cost of living. We won't get too into the weeds on this stuff, but, one of the strongest arguments in favor of a lot of like trade agreements and stuff is that because you're able to manufacture goods for cheaper in China, that makes it easier for a person in America to afford certain goods and a certain standard of living that they might not have been able to before.
This is the last century in action, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as we also know, people like having jobs. It's really hard to afford things if you don't have a job, period, no matter how cheaply they're made in China. Any last thoughts on that, Dana, before we move on? I have a feeling this is a topic we're going to end up coming back to at some point.
Probably at some point, and it's a complicated one.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of lean toward where Nate was going, where, for the centuries, the technology has been marching forward. I say centuries, referring to the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
A tax like this would be unprecedented, right? When have we before penalized companies for taking advantage of
New technology,
even if it did force humans to take different kinds of jobs?
It's a good question. I don't know. I'd actually have to do some research on that.
Sounds like a good story.
Yeah, it sounds like the sort of thing that I actually am going to want to immediately research when we leave this set. Our last topic for Flame Wars, Nate, I'm going to turn to you to kind of fill in the details here, because if I'm honest, I'm not completely caught up on this at all, and that's mostly because I hate PewDiePie.
PewDiePie. Sorry, I don't know why I said that like that.
So why don't you give us a quick rundown of the story this week, and then we'll kind of pull it apart.
So last week, PewDiePie, huge YouTube celebrity, 53 million followers on the platform.
He's the number one YouTube earner, right?
I think not just earner, but he has the most subscribers by about 20 million too. He's far and away the most popular.
The people behind him were mega pop stars like Taylor Swift and...
I remember, Taylor Swift, and there's some Bieber. Bieber is like number 3 on the top list of subscribers, and he's at 27 million. PewDiePie is almost double that. So we know how popular Bieber is. So this is a pretty crazy thing. He's found a very weird, interesting niche on YouTube, regardless of whether you care for it or not. I don't personally, but he's clearly got an audience.
Yep.
He also has a propensity for doing dumb things with his channel occasionally. Most recently, he posted a video where he used like a job payment service where you can like request someone to do something in a like third world country and you pay them a small amount of money for it.
Kind of like TaskRabbit.
But going across nations basically. So basically he had these I believe they were Indian folks hold up a sign that said "Death to all Jews," I think, and put it on his video. He promptly lost his deal with Disney's Maker Studios. YouTube canceled the second season of his YouTube Red show, Scare PewDiePie, and they pulled him from their Google preferred ad platform because of this. All of which I would say is a reasonable response to what he did.
Yeah.
And then I just started thinking about, okay, what's their relationship going to look like going forward between YouTube and PewDiePie? And I got to the point where I think that they still need each other so much that they're going to continue this sort of awkward relationship of, they're mutually beneficial, awkward relationship, because he's got so many subscribers. It doesn't make sense for him to jump ship and go somewhere else, even if he is angry about the treatment he's received. And for YouTube, they're probably like one of those kind of free speech backlashes that I have to imagine if they actually banned him for what he's done.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think Google is much more willing to wade into that debate than, let's say, Twitter is.
Yeah.
Twitter banned Milo a while back, even before this week's,
Right.
fresh controversies around him. But I mean, Twitter otherwise also is not, has been hesitant to decide what is acceptable speech and what's not.
Yeah.
And Google too seems.
Well,
to be
they've
shying
got
away
so
from
in their
that.
guidelines, of course, they say no hate speech, and they also say they typically will remove video. People flag videos, they'll remove them, and then eventually they'll take the step of removing an account if they need to. And as distasteful as some of the stuff PewDiePie has done, I don't know that he's crossed the line enough times to ban him if he was a normal random individual who did this with a smaller following.
Yeah, and I mean his defense, what he said is basically, this isn't hate speech really because it was a
satire.
Joke. Yeah, it was a satire.
Right.
That was ultimately his defense, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's a joke. I don't get if it was supposed to be a joke.
And that seems to be like the defense of a lot of people who post, unpleasant, hateful things online. They'll walk back, oh, it's just a joke, man. Don't you get the joke? And his followers, of course, are all in on the joke. You look at his Facebook and YouTube, and there's plenty of comments saying, like, you're the man, PewDiePie, keep doing your thing. Like,
so did you watch this video, by the way?
It's gone. They pulled it. Either they pulled it or he pulled it. So I don't have the full context of how it was presented, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere because nothing dies on the internet.
I'm sure within about 30 seconds.
Someone will send it to us. Yeah. But yeah, without having seen the full thing, I think that YouTube did the right thing in terms of severing the relationship with him. I don't know if they need to ban him from there's a big difference between what Milo did and what he's done, right? Like, Milo's actively encouraging individuals to attack other individuals. I think PewDiePie is just kind of a dumb young man who does dumb things occasionally, and he happens to have a huge audience, which makes those dumb mistakes much more visible.
You can't say dumb enough when discussing PewDiePie. I mean, Dana, do you think that it's kind of time for YouTube to really just pull the cord, or do you think this was the right stop for them to just kind of well, our sort of official relationship is over. We're not going to go out of our way to promote you or help you earn additional money, but we're also going to just let you do what you need to do and kind of step back?
I wouldn't want to see them ban him without a larger discussion about how they handle trolls. And for YouTube, it's sort of twofold, right? Because there are the content creators, people like PewDiePie who could potentially post something offensive, but then the comments themselves all over YouTube are a cesspool.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think that's why I say Google has long had a troubled relationship with trolls on YouTube. I don't even just mean the YouTubers themselves, but sometimes the commenters.
Comments are far worse.
And so I kind of feel like, they could ban PewDiePie, but I don't really think that would usher in or signal any changes in the way they do things or the way they think about hate speech or trolling.
Yeah.
And without that, I'm really not interested in them using one person as an example.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting you mentioned Google's problem with unpleasant commenting and hate speech and so forth, because just a few hours ago, an alphabet company called Jigsaw released a project they're working on called Perspective. It's machine learning AI that looks at comments and tries to identify toxic comments. And the machine is getting smarter and smarter as it reviews these comments. And they want to make this available to publications and publishers to implement on their platforms to help clean up online discussions. Sounds like it could be super useful on YouTube itself, but they've been doing a pilot with the New York Times as well.
Sounds like it could be super useful on Engadget.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but it's just true.
Yeah, I mean, our commenters know.
Yeah. But this is I'd love to see where this goes, because I didn't think about this until we just started talking about it, but it would absolutely be useful on YouTube if they could make this thing smart enough to know when to just automatically nix comments that hit a certain threshold.
Yeah.